This is a HeadGum podcast.
Jonathan Braylock, James III, Jerah Milligan.
What more can I say? You know what it is.
Black men can't jump.
In Hollywood.
Black actors, man. Black actors. All right.
What? First of all, use your mic voice. Welcome to Black Man Can't Jump in Hollywood, guys. I'm Jonathan Braylock.
I'm James III.
Oh my God!
And
you are the worst.
Hey man, so I went to the bathroom back there. They said don't go back there. Good God, that bathroom
Great.
it smells so bad. Now my nostrils are awake. I'm here.
Great. Now
Jerah Milligan, y'all.
Now we're all a part of this.
No, I want everyone to be a part of this experience I just had.
None of us want to be, though.
Well, no, we're a team. We're doing this.
All right. So, for those of you who don't know, we are Black Men Can't Jump in Hollywood. We have a podcast on the HeadGum Network. We review films with leading black actors, and then we kind of talk about them in the context of race and how Hollywood deals with race, and also why there are so few movies with leading black actors or people of color.
Yeah. Especially a studio picture. Those are the films we try to focus on because studio, I mean, you can get an indie. You know what I'm saying? You can get an indie.
Basically, at the end of the day, we have dollar signs in our eyes
At all times.
and we want there to be dollar signs in the eyes of more black people.
But it's not. But I feel like we talk about black people, but it's like we've had episodes we talk about like how many Asian leads have we had, how many like women
people
of
of
color
color
leads have we had, and it's like, hey man, we're running out of studio pictures. To be honest, that don't star Denzel, Will Smith, Denzel, or Will
Smith. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we did like 2 Will Smith movies already.
We've done 2 Eddie Murphy movies already.
We've done 2 Jamie Foxx movies already.
And we've done 2 Will Smith movies already.
Yeah, man.
And people constantly request more of those.
Like, we got to get somebody else in these streets, man. We got to do a Nick Cannon one.
We do have to do a Nick
Why
Cannon.
do we have to do a Nick
No,
Cannon?
we have
used to be the man back in the day.
Drumline?
The people like Drumline.
Underclassmen?
Drumline made me want to go to college.
Drumline got a
Zero cheers for Underclassmen.
Underclassmen people were like, that's a movie. I didn't know.
Why would you say his best movie, man? Don't do that to him.
What? Love Don't Cost a Thing?
All right.
We had to.
But it's, first of all, thank you guys for coming. And thank you to NYU Gallatin who invited us here.
Yeah, thanks for bringing us here.
Yeah,
For Black History Month.
For Black History Month. Why don't we get
Thank
around?
yourselves if you're not black and you're in the audience because you came out doing some support.
Jerah likes to just thank white people for just saying hello to black people.
Listen, think about it. How often does a white
What
person
do I
say, how
think
often
about it?
How often does a white person say hello to you?
No.
What are you talking
Gerard,
My mom is white.
Gerard.
No.
My mom is white.
I'm
Also,
not talking to him. Let me go to him.
no. Also, just how often do people just randomly say hello to you?
They should.
No.
No, what I'm saying is if you see somebody, say hello.
I don't know what day and age you think you live in.
I'm in 2000. You know what? Let's start
All
this
right,
show,
okay.
man. Y'all
Okay.
know.
We're here to review the film 12 Years a Slave. Now, oh, goodness gracious. What's wrong with
Why?
Man, this movie it's a slave movie.
This is yes, absolutely. It's called 12
Years a Slave.
On the poster, he's running.
It's a movie.
He don't run away in the movie. Why he running on the poster?
Well, he does run. There are
got-
times
No,
when he runs.
there is a scene where he thinks about running,
and
he very quickly
stops.
yes.
On the poster, what do you see on the poster? The black dude running.
Yeah, but it's the
couldn't be
symbol.
reading the
It
book.
symbolizes.
He couldn't be writing.
No, but it
the book.
symbolizes he's running in a lot of ways. He's running away from himself. He's running away from the plantation. He's running
Right.
away from love. He's running away.
I don't know about love.
Love, right?
That's a stretch.
Because
Okay,
Stop
yeah.
it.
Well, okay,
You
okay.
stop it right
Okay,
now.
so first of all, I want to know just for us, how many people have seen 12 Years a Slave in here? Okay, great.
Okay, great. Everyone
who
raised their
hasn't
hand
seen
for the
it?
people
Who
that
hasn't
aren't.
seen it. That's okay. It's
Yes,
fine.
it's
if you
fine.
haven't. So we only have a couple of people. Just so you know, for those of you who don't, and for our listeners, the movie was based on Solomon Northup, which is a real person who wrote who actually wrote a book, like an autobiography of this time in his life where he was a slave for 12 years. Essentially, he was a free man, though it doesn't really explain if he was born.
It was
free.
Terry Gilliam's fault.
No, that's not. Okay.
What is wrong with you?
I'm sorry. We didn't get there
You
yet.
are so ready to yell at white people.
I'm sorry. We didn't get there yet.
They don't explain They don't explain how he came to be a free man.
He came to be free, but he was free. He had free papers.
You mean at the very beginning?
Yes, he lived in the North. He was free, and then essentially he was kidnapped. He was drugged, kidnapped, and sold into slavery illegally. Which, I mean, just the fact that slavery was legal.
Yeah.
But just to be clear, that was illegal. What happened?
But it was actually illegal what happened to him.
I mean, it was bad, but like technically, like back in those days, did people care? Like if he was to go to somebody, if he was to go,
they
I
said
think that's the whole point is that most people didn't care.
That's why he was a slave for 12 years.
Y'all ain't got to keep telling me the title. I know what it is. He was 12 years. Hold on. Why it got to be 12 years a slave? Why couldn't it be like...
That's what he wrote.
That's what Solomon
after
Northup...
living the life that he lived, he was like, that's what I was. 12 years a slave.
12 years a slave.
12 years
so
of
anyway, it's a
slavery
real
was
person. But it's somebody who had heard of Solomon Northup before the movie 12 Years a Slave? 1, 2.
Y'all educated.
Three.
Oh.
3. And I'm guessing most people. I
did not know the story.
I'm guessing, and the director of this movie, Steve McQueen, also had not heard of Solomon Northup, according to IMDb trivia, which is kind of spotty at best. But if we are to believe it, Steve McQueen was actually trying to write a script about a man who was free and then sold into slavery, and he couldn't really write it, or he was trying to write it, and then his wife was like, hey, this is an actual thing that really happened.
Stop making stuff up.
Yeah, you don't no need.
Yeah, like
there's no need. Cool. So the movie won Best Picture for the Academy Awards 2014.
Yeah, it was the best.
It won Best Adapted Screenplay. John Ridley, who went to Gallatin apparently.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah, shout out.
Big ups.
Shout out.
And I think it won like Best Costume Design.
Yes.
And did it win one other thing? Whatever.
Yeah.
It was nominated for Best Director for Steve McQueen. He did not win. Chiwetel Ejiofor was also nominated for Best Actor. He did not win. And it won for Best Supporting Actress, Lupita Nyong'o, and that was her debut performance, actually, her first cinematic performance.
Yeah.
And she won. And and it happened to be the last time
people of color
person of color was nominated for acting. That's a fact. That's not even a thing that I'm.
And that was
that was 2 years ago, and
14,
for 2 years in a row we've had 0 nominations.
But you know what's going to happen next year, right?
What's that?
Birth of a Nation, the new slavery movie coming out. We all know that next year the new slavery movie will be nominated for an Oscar, right? Well, and it's going to win because they're like, oh snap, we ain't have black people in like 2 years. We got to get one, and they're gonna give it to the new slave movie. I'm tired of slavery.
You are so mad. You're so mad about this.
All right, here we go.
He could. Okay, 2 seconds.
Okay, go into it.
That's what I'm saying. They couldn't have wrote a movie about a doctor who just happened to be black.
No,
hear me out. Who was just struggling to figure out, oh man, stress is happening. I have a drug addiction. I'm going through complicated things, but I'm a doctor and get nominated. Do I got to be a slave every time? Every time I got to be a slave?
I mean,
no.
Is the answer to that question. You don't have to be a slave every time.
If we have Birth of a Nation next year, then a pause for 2 years, and the next movie is Freedom Ring. I'm losing my damn mind. Let Freedom Ring.
What if Freedom Ring is a really good movie though? Like, what if it's a really good movie and deserves to be nominated for an Oscar? Cool.
For the listener, Jerah is just staring.
He stared a hole into my soul.
Okay, cool. So obviously this movie was very well received. It made $153 million worldwide. Most of that was actually international, which is
Was it?
Yeah.
I have to say this.
What?
I think it deserves all that money.
Okay.
So
these are your initial thoughts.
Yes, this is my first time seeing it. And
you didn't see it in theaters.
I didn't see it in theaters.
Why not?
I didn't. Why not?
Yeah.
Because it was called 12 Years a Slave, and I was like, I don't want to see slaves. I legitimately didn't want to see another slave movie. Mm-hmm. They make me sad. They make me feel like I'm gonna sink into myself and die. So I did not see it.
Right.
And I watched it today, and I was like, this movie is amazing. I legitimately think that it is a great movie.
That's not a bold thing to say.
That's fine.
No, I'm just
that.
One best picture,
You
dude.
just said that like I'm going to go against the tide here.
I'm scared of Jerah because he just went on a tirade about how he doesn't.
Listen, I'm not gonna like crap on the movie. One best picture. It had a black director. It starred black people. I'm not gonna be like, oh, but I'm gonna be like, oh. You know, I'm not going to be like, oh,
all right, what were your initial thoughts? Is this your first time seeing it?
This is my second time.
Okay.
My initial thought was, I'm not watching this movie. It took me 2 days to watch this movie. I'm going to tell you, it did because I didn't want to watch it. The second time.
Yeah.
First time I saw it because I saw it the first time with my white friend. I saw it with Dave. Because we were like, oh, man, let's experience this together. Don't know why. And that was good because that was awkward for both of us. That was super awkward. We're like, oh yeah, Michael Fassbender. Oh man, he is rough. Anyway, second time I watched it, I stopped watching once Taron Killam came in and they were being nice to him, and I'm like, see, that's messed up. They put the nice white dude in here. He being all friendly. And I forgot Taron Killam was the dude who like tricked him and drugged him.
Right,
or whatever.
Taron Killam is he's on Saturday Night Live,
and I like him.
Yeah,
he's one of my favorite people on SNL.
Yeah,
I haven't watched SNL since.
You stopped watching SNL because of 12 Years a Slave?
He was too good. I need a week. I need a solid week before I can watch any clips with a minute. Because this is my thing. It's like I thought the movie was great. I thought like, honestly, man, I can't even say. I can't say I thought it was great watching it the first time.
Okay.
My first thought, because I took notes. I never take notes. My first thought was, how come the woman who plays Liza got no recognition? She actually was a strong black woman who cared about her kids and who didn't want to give up a fight. Why?
I totally. So there's a character. There's a character in the film, Liza. That's the one who was sold with Chiwetel Ejiofor, and she's separated from her children in close to the beginning of the movie, in the first third of the movie.
The first slave time.
Yeah, and there's a very powerful scene where she's just weeping, and Solomon is upset of her crying. He's like, stop crying, and she's like, I can't. She's like, would you just let me weep for my children?
Yeah, and then she was like, do you not weep for your kids? And the note I wrote was, oh, please don't kill me. The note was, it's interesting that she got no love for playing a woman who cared, and Lupita got a lot of love for playing a woman who gave up. And my thing about that was, it's like, how come the black woman in the film who, like even Platt, for instance, was like, stop crying, stop weeping, stop whatever. And she's like, her kids were sold into slavery, right? Like, Platt's kids were still safe in the North. So I understand he still had fear. You're still
calling Solomon Platt, by the way.
No. But his slave name was Platt.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's his slave.
Sorry, the only reason I keep saying that because that's what they.
No, I know.
Yeah,
I'm just clarifying.
Platt.
Solomon is named Platt by his slave.
Yeah. So like the whole time he's like, stop crying, and I'm like, how come this woman, who to me technically had the scene when you see her kids get ripped away, and I don't have kids, but I know if someone dragged my mother away, I'm about to lose my mind. Yeah. How come she got no love?
So my question for you is,
I hate to compare.
No. So now my question for you is, do you think that it was just after the movie, the reception of the movie, that she got no love, or do you think that there's an element of the storytelling in the movie that she doesn't get love?
I was thinking of the after effect. To me, is that thing of like, man. To me, is that thing of like, sometimes you can get, if you're a person of color, you can get love for playing. What's the word? Like I don't know the right word to say. It's like not a strong, not a powerful person. Like if you're a person of color, like for instance, if you're playing Martin Luther King, you're not gonna get nominated. But if you're playing a slave, you probably will get nominated. Yeah,
but see, so what's interesting about that though is I think that the way that they show her even in the movie is she's not in the foreground, she's in the background. almost like until that scene that they really talk.
We don't have any real backstory from her, even though she probably was also educated and abducted, right? It's
yes. I think all of those people were, right? But she is almost scenery in the storytelling, like as in like, you know, this is something that, and granted, slaves also wanted to die probably all the time too, but she was kind of used as like this is background, you know, like she's not really in the foreground. She's not, you know, it's a thing. And when she's really going through it, it's like we're hearing this woman crying, or what's in the foreground is the deal that's being made, and what's in the background is like the truth of like this woman being ripped from her family. So I think that it's, you know, I feel like she didn't get love because, you know, not only does she not get love in the reception, but it's also like in the way that the story's being told.
Yeah, we spend more time with Lupita's character for sure, Patsy. And so let me just tell, like, when I saw this film with my parents who are here.
Where your parents at?
They're right there.
Hey,
what's up?
So you decided to see it with your wife and thought that was a good idea. We were like, hey, let's see it together as a family.
Oh, man.
What a great family movie. Sitting around. And I got to tell, it's so funny because, like, I don't know why I wasn't mentally prepared to watch the movie when I first saw it. Like, I don't know why I didn't realize that I should be mentally prepared to step into it. But I saw it pretty early on. I saw it before, like, the real Oscar buzz kicked in. Like, we knew it was supposed to be a good movie, but like, we saw it pretty early on, and I like came into being like, oh, I'm ready to watch like a really good film. And when it ended, I was like really upset. I like immediately was thinking about race. Like, I didn't come into the theater thinking about race, and when the movie ended, like the first thing that I did was like look around to see like how many white people were in the audience, how many black people were in the audience, and like all of a sudden had that mulatto struggle of like, am I black or white? Like, if I was in this movie, I'd be a slave. And
how am I supposed to feel?
How am I supposed to feel right now? And like all these things like fill my mind, and the first thing that I thought of was like, did this movie bring healing? Like, did this movie, or did it cause divisiveness? Like, and I just think that to me, it was like, I legitimately was like, I know it's like we can never forget about these things, but there was a way in which the film really indulged and that's to its credit, like it needed to, right? But because it indulged so much in the horrors of slavery, I couldn't separate race, like, in today's age, you know what I mean? From that, yeah, and I was just like, man, this is crazy. It was hard, and watching it again, I didn't want to watch it again at all.
Can I make a confession right now?
Go ahead.
I didn't watch the last 30 minutes of this movie.
Yo, that's messed up, yo.
So you didn't watch the last 30 minutes of the movie?
You missed Lupita's whipping scene.
No, I stopped. That's when I stopped at that.
So when that happened, you stopped.
I literally was like, yo, I can't. The thing is, like, I was texting everyone, like, the second time I was trying to watch it, like, yo, I can't do this. I can't. The thing is, I am physically, because we've been doing a lot of.
Jerah, I will say this.
Can I say one thing real quick? I'm with you. I was like, when I saw this movie, I was like, I'm tired. Why did we need this movie now? Do we need another slavery movie? But I also was like, I checked. I did some research, and I was like, how many movies about slavery are there really? You guys know there aren't that many.
This is the thing, man.
There really aren't. Like, big motion picture movies. Like, the last one was probably Amistad. Or you could say Amazing Grace, maybe. But it's like we had Roots and we had Amistad, and that was enough for, like, decades.
I mean,
for real, though.
Think
about how many Holocaust films there are.
I think the reason that it feels like it's a problem, at least to why I struggle watching them and why Jerah is sick of seeing them, right, is that, like, and I didn't want to talk about this right now, but I just feel like for me, I've seen it, and I want, like, you asked the question, like, do we need this right now? And it's like, it's almost like the movie just reminds me of the sad history that brought me to be sitting here right now, right? And I don't want to be reminded of that. And Jerah doesn't want to be reminded of that. And so like I don't need it. You know, it's like I personally don't need to see it. That doesn't mean that these movies don't need to be made, but I think that's where that feeling comes from.
The thing that's tough to me about it is, like, for instance, when I look out right now at everybody here, I feel like I see Asians, I see whites, I see blacks, all sitting mixed up.
Right.
And the thing is, like, to me, I need to see a movie like this. Like, to me, this is what I care about, where it's like, it's not a thing. Like, it's not a thing. I'm tired of being reminded, because, again, we've been doing a lot of Oscar stuff. We've been talking about, we just saw, like, Race, which is about race. Like, you know, Selma. It's like, I'm tired of seeing, like, the struggle, right? Mm-hmm. I understand it exists. I understand that right now in these very streets, like, black people, women of color are still going through it, you know? I want to see a movie, right? I just want someone to make a movie where it's just a group of people having a good time, or even if
it's a group of people having a good time,
or a movie, no
struggle.
No, I'm about to say, or a struggle, but the struggle is more so about like them dealing with something they're working on. Like it's like them,
a missing cat.
Oh yeah, something. You mean like, and they have to go, they have to go on like
somebody's got goes missing,
and they got to go,
and they got to go find the cat.
They got to go on an adventure.
That's a subtle plug for Keanu.
No, but it's like the reason the movie was so tough because it's like, how many times have we seen battered down black people? Like,
yes.
And
now,
outside of just, and maybe I'm taking out my like thing on like the world in this movie, but we think about the news. Let's think about right now. Last night, we're taping this. Last night was the Super Bowl, right? Mm-hmm. Last night, I like to check out Fox News, right? I like to check out, just see what people talking about. See what people talking about. Last night, there was a riot, or whatever you want to call it, in Denver, right? People tossing cars and like tossing trash cans down the street.
Like a regular old sports
event. Right, regular old sports event, right? People going nuts.
People throwing cars up.
Do you know one of the main things Fox News talked about? Beyonce's disrespect for police. So, hold on.
Wait, for real?
Hear me out. Hear me out. This is 2016, right? Beyonce had a Super Bowl performance that I think was great. Right?
Yeah, it was incredible.
Great.
Everybody knows that.
And you know what they said?
Everybody knows it was better than Coldplay. Everybody understands that.
I want to try.
Her and Bruno Mars danced off. It was like everybody just jumped for joy. Involuntarily. People were just
I didn't want.
They're like
Chris Martin stuck his head in. He was.
I don't know any of the things you're talking about.
The point is that we're going.
You know why James doesn't know? Because instead of watching the Super Bowl, he watched 12 Years a Slave.
That was how I spent my Super Bowl Sunday.
That was your decision, by the way. No, but I'm saying we live in that kind of world, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's hard for me to keep watching these movies where I'm like, the people who get nominated, the people who get awarded are like the subservient, like.
Right, so let's go into it, because let's go into the movie, right? Because this is the other thing. Solomon Northup was a very, very well-educated man. He could play the violin. He was like a master violinist, right? Which is what got him into the situation, because basically Taran Killam and I don't remember the other actor's
name. His name is
James took notes.
Scott McNary.
Ah, there you
go. Good job, James.
So they're very funny.
Thank you.
Scott McNary and Taran Killam approach Solomon Northup, and they're like, "Hey, you're great at violin. We run a circus. We're going to go to stop in D.C. We're going to play a bunch of shows. We'll pay you X amount of money. Can you come with us?" He's like, "I don't know," but his wife and kids are away because his wife has to go work at like a farm or something.
Yeah, she goes every year.
Every year. And so he's like, "Yeah, why not?" And he goes, and they have a good time. They just drug him, and he wakes up in chains, right? And from that point on, we basically follow a man who very quickly realizes he needs to shut up and not talk back, because if he does, he will get killed.
And that one black dude told him to. That one black dude was like, if you want to survive this, you need to be quiet.
Yeah. And even before that, I feel like he realized, like, almost immediately they're just like, you're not free.
You are not free.
And he's like, yes, I am. They beat him. They beat him.
And asked him what his name was. No, that's later. But when they beat him with that paddle and it broke, and the guy came back with another one,
and then they came up, and then he stopped complaining. Then they're on a slave ship that's like going more towards the south. And what's his name? I only remember
Omar.
him as Omar.
Omar from The Wire.
Yeah,
Omar from The
Omar
Wire.
from The Wire.
Omar from The Wire. Omar from The Wire.
Michael Williams. Michael K. Williams.
Yes.
His name is
Williams.
Omar, dude. Respect
His name.
him.
His name is
Michael K. Williams. Respect him.
First off, don't disrespect Omar like that, bro.
What?
Omar walks around the streets with shotguns and no one stops him.
Yeah.
B.
Yo.
He's respected.
Okay, all right.
All right, you mess with him if you want.
I will not say that.
Anyway,
You mess with him if you want.
But basically, Michael K. Williams' character is like, we need to riot, and the other guy's like, no, we can't. Solomon Northup's like, I think we should.
We have enough.
I
We
don't
have the
know.
numbers. We got the numbers.
And then very in the quickest scene ever, he just gets stabbed.
But
to
it's-
death
and-
by basically just going like this, like touching the
It's
guy's
not
shoulder.
even the riot. It's like
He doesn't
it's
even
the
try to break
beginnings of a riot. It's not even. It's like
He tried to stop the woman from being raped.
Yeah. He basically just puts his hand on the guy's shoulder. He doesn't like forcibly move him or anything at all.
And is immediately stabbed.
Immediately stabbed and killed.
You know
and
what that
tossed
says?
off
You know
the
what that
boat.
says to me?
What?
Try to protect your women, and you die.
yeah,
Well,
that's
yeah.
exactly what it's
Like,
supposed to
top-
say to you.
top- We should have watched Soul Plane.
What?
We should have
We
watched.
should have watched Soul Plane.
I want something happy, man.
We are talking.
All right. It's Black History Month.
Man, there wasn't no happy Black History movie.
All right, I'm not going to engage in this
No,
part
this
of
is
the
my thing. This is my
conversation.
thing
All
right
right,
now.
wait, but I don't
Wait,
see-
so he gets stabbed, and that. I mean, I feel like it's hard too, right? Because we're watching this movie where a man knows that he can't, he has to be subservient, right? But what has he seen to show him he should try anything else? The only other person, right, who even attempts is immediately.
Well, okay, yes, but this is what I'm talking about. That's what the movie does, right?
Yeah.
Now, I didn't read the book. Maybe we all should have.
No.
But I don't. But we're working off the film. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
So when I was watching the movie, it bothered me both times. Like, we don't see him resist. We barely see him resist. He resists in the and I understand that's the point. But like, his resistance is basically just surviving. Like,
Yeah.
he's just like, I'm going to survive.
That was something that was weird about the movie for me, and I don't, and I'm not a historian, so I don't know this, but there were at least 3 or 4 times where Solomon or Lupita would say like, no, like literally, like he would run away from getting hit,
Right.
and it was like fine, and I was like, how is that?
Well, that dude was
He
so,
was drunk. He
that
was,
dude
like,
was so
super
drunk. It was like
he was super drunk, and I think that the point was like
He was so
he would
drunk,
have
it's like-
he would have killed him.
Yeah.
in a drunken stupor.
But then even later when he's later in the movie when he calls Ebbs, is that Michael Fassbender's character's name? When he says like you're sinning, what you're doing is sin, and he's like, nah. Like, or whatever it is that he says. I can't, but that feels like, as much as it's not running away or it's not what he does to Paul Dano's character, like beating him.
Favorite scene in the
That
whole
is
movie.
fighting back. That is.
Right,
That is more than what I would have ever expected to see someone do.
Well, I think the thing is you have to understand too. People, the slaves are their property, right? Like even if it's acting up, like when you're. Like, well, look, we just have to go there because that's the
they are.
mindset.
The slaves are their property.
That's the mindset that these people work, right?
Yes.
Like, they are looking at slaves like horses, like literal machinery. You know what I mean?
Yes.
When your horse acts up, you don't just kill it because if you just keep killing horses, you're going to run out of money, and it's not financially doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but
so
you
tolerate.
I'm not saying though
a
that
certain amount.
You want him to die?
No, and I'm not saying I'm not saying that I want it. Jerah is so mad. I'm not saying that I want him to die. I'm saying that I looked at it and it confused me. I didn't understand.
I think that's,
and that seemed like fighting back.
crossing the line?
Yeah, that is. Wouldn't that be crossing a line if you are someone's property and they say, I
can't relate to this. I don't know.
What I'm asking the question. I'm asking. No,
hypothetically.
No, Jerah, fuck you and that smug look you got in your face, man. Fuck you. I'm talking about my opinion. All right. I think that is taking a stand. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
I'm not saying that he deserved anything else. I'm saying, and being as eloquent as he was, and being as all of that is going against what everyone told him to do.
Right.
Don't act like you know what I mean.
But see, I think the point,
and he has to. I think he toes the line between what I can do, it can get away with, and can't get away with, and sometimes he pushes too far.
I don't think it's like even pushing it. I think it's that those moments of like you take a person who's free, who can talk, they're going to slip up. It's that simple moment of like sometimes like you shouldn't talk back to your boss, and it's like, oh, you slip. It's like, to me, it's like he wasn't necessarily taking a like. To me, it wasn't him going against, I guess, his master, if you will. It just felt like a moment of like, no, man, that's dumb. Because even the moment where the guy is drunk, right, the master's drunk, like he even tries to defend himself, like, no, man, you're just drunk, you're just doing this. He's trying to defend himself very quickly because he realizes he has routed this guy up.
He was
like the guy cut his shirt. So it's like, yeah, he said something, but he was so quick to like, wait, I know what I just did. I didn't mean to do that. So I don't think he was like purposely trying to stand against him. I think the Paul Dano scene he was the only time.
And every time it happened, I questioned what the lines were. This movie to me is the most confusing representation of slavery that I've ever seen, because of that, and I think that this is something that is to the testament of the movie, that like it shows how the weird lines, like there's a point in it where Solomon says that Ford, Benedict Cumberbatch's character, is a good man, which I think we're supposed to think he's a good man.
Yeah.
But like, no.
Because the woman, what does Liza say?
Let's talk about the first scene that we see him in. I think that's the best scene representation of that, and the idea of, and I think we can extrapolate, like, people who are in their minds, they think I'm a good person, but they don't stand up to injustice. You know what I mean? So, like, essentially, Benedict Cumberbatch comes in. He's there, like, it's at a slave auction, right? There's all these people. They're like walking around, like, literally, like they're looking at art pieces, like, that are here on the walls. They're just like, oh, okay, that looks nice or whatever. And he,
Paul Giamatti's patting people on the chest.
Paul
Giamatti
is. I mean, Paul Giamatti was great in this movie, just playing like this awful slaver. And he, Benedict Cumberbatch's character, is like, I want, Solomon, and I want, what's her name?
Am I saying it wrong? Is it Liza?
Eliza.
So he wants Solomon, he wants Eliza. Eliza says, please don't, I have these 2 kids.
Take my 2 kids with me. Take my 2 kids.
And another person puts a bid on her son. And so he's like, look, I run a business. I'm not going to give this property away for free. Either you want this woman or you don't. And Benedict Cumberbatch is like, come on, man, have a heart. And
well, Benedict tried to get the kids.
I know money.
Yeah.
And so Benedict Cumberbatch is like, all right, cool. Just fine. I'll take the woman. So it's like he has something in him that, and he even says it later in the film, like, nobody can do this without kind of like killing a bit of humanity inside of them.
Yeah, and Liza has a good point when she says to Solomon,
I would work better for you.
No, she also, like, later on, like, when Solomon tells her to stop crying, and he's like, what's the guy's name? What's Michael? I mean, whatever that slave owner's name is. I forgot his name at the point.
Yeah,
but he's like, he's a good man. He's a good man. And she's like, he's a good man. He's a slaver.
He's a slaver, right?
And she says repeatedly, do you think he cares about your struggle? Tell him and see what he does. And you know what happens when Solomon says, hey, I'm a free man. I'm a free man.
Yeah, he says, don't tell anybody.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me.
Don't tell me. Don't tell anybody.
Don't tell anybody.
It's like, don't tell anybody.
In fact, he says, you're remarkable, and that's going to get you into trouble.
Ooh, that reminds me of one thing. This
it's true. That's what happened. So, like, right, that is the what
this movie and Django, both call, like, the lead black men exceptional Negroes, right?
Right.
Like, 'cause that's what he kept calling him. Like, man, you're an exceptional Negro.
Right.
You're an exceptional Negro.
Like, it's a surprise.
Like it's a surprise that this, like, you can read. But man, okay, I'm not gonna go into. Man, okay, I'm trying to be calm.
Right,
y'all
which
keep
is
going.
the world of
y'all
this
keep
movie.
going. Y'all keep going, because, man.
So,
exceptional Negro. Man, you know what's so crazy is that we live in a world today. No, I'm gonna keep relating it back to what's happening now because y'all made me watch this movie. There was an analyst that called Cam Newton boy last night. He called him a boy.
So yeah. No. He
called him a boy.
What he said was,
I don't care. He said boy. He tweeted boy. B-O-Y. Okay,
he said,
that's a grown-ass
said,
man.
He basically said something to the effect of, like, you can't... Because people were... After the Super Bowl, after he lost, you have to do a press conference, and Cam Newton kind of went back to what he usually does, which was, like, kind of was pouting, didn't really say anything, he kind of just shrugged his shoulders, and then he basically walked off, like, before he was supposed to. And some people gave him crap for that. They were like, you need to man up. And this guy, instead of saying man up, which is, maybe a sexist term anyway, he said, he called him like a boy. He was like, stop acting like a boy.
What did he say?
What was the exact tweet?
The exact quote was like, you got blah, blah, blah. It was a tweet, technically. Sorry, It was a tweet.
He didn't say comma.
No. It was. I swear to God. It was comma boy. Actually, it was comma boy.
It was comma boy.
Comma boy. Comma boy.
Wait, who has a tweet?
2016, he called him a boy. And we talking about this goddamn
comma boy?
Comma boy. Comma boy. Go ahead, talk about y'all. Go back to the slavery movie.
So it's interesting that you bring it back to today, right?
I'm going to keep bringing it back.
Well, no, because I think that there are a couple moments in the movie that I think resonate very strongly for stuff that's happening today. One of them is that scene where what's the name? Eliza and Solomon are yelling at each other, trying to figure out exactly the way to proceed, right? That feels a lot about like what we are doing with the podcast, literally talking about what do we want to see next.
Yeah.
Another one though is the moment when he's hanging.
Yes.
And it goes on for it's like a 5-minute
So basically he
sequence.
beats Paul Dano's character. Paul Dano is works for Benedict Cumberbatch.
He's an overseer.
And Paul Dano doesn't like Solomon because Solomon
is smart.
Is an exceptional
and is allowed
Negro.
And is allowed to be smart under Benedict because it's helping his farm and helping his business, and so he's allowed to be smart. And Paul Dano does not like this, of course, because he's clearly smarter than he is, and so basically he gives him an absurd task to do, and then says that he didn't do it right, even though he did, and then he tries to beat Solomon, and I think Solomon was feeling pretty like high on himself.
He was
not going to let that
feeling like
go
a
down.
free man.
Yeah.
And he was like, you're not going to beat me. And he takes him and he just beats Paul Dano. And essentially, Paul Dano comes back with 2 other people. They string him up. Then another guy comes out. He says, you can't kill him until Benedict Cumberbatch comes back. But he doesn't cut him down. He kind of just lets him dangle there. And he has to, on his tiptoes in the mud. It's a very powerful scene.
Yes.
And
everyone comes out and watches it. Yeah, everyone comes out and watches him. And then I think Liza gives him a little bit of water as he's hanging.
Yes.
She
What do you think about
the reason that resonated for me for now, right, is because and this is like grand conjecture that I'm doing right now, but there are people being killed in the streets, right? Mm-hmm. There's like a sort of it happens time and time and time again, right? And every time that happens, there is a call to action, right? There's a call to action. There's a hashtag on Twitter. There's a protest, that you can go to. There are all these things, right? But it is also a thing that happens.
Right.
So like right now, the state of the world, and it feels this way, again, grand conjecture, but we're walking around, we're playing, we see children playing, but there is also people that are hanging from their necks that are getting by, and it's okay. It's okay that it's happening.
Right.
We want to do something. We want to give the water, but what should be happening, right? And Leonardo DiCaprio's character talks about it in Django. Why don't they kill us, right? Every single one of those people could rise up and change everything,
right?
But it doesn't happen.
Do you know who proposes that question in this movie? Do you remember it? Like Leo did it in Django, but the black guy, I wish I knew this character's name. He's one of the black guys who was taken, and when he got off the ship with Solomon, his master was there to get him back. In the bottom, when Omar, calling that man Omar. Well, Omar is like, we need to revolt. This guy says,
he's like they're
a bunch of niggas.
They're
he's
all
like,
niggas
he's like,
here.
they're all niggas. We have no
Chris
one to help
Chalk
us
plays
out.
that character.
Yeah, he's like,
because
we have
they're
no
all
one to help
they
us
were
out.
born slaves, and they've been beaten into this submissive.
Yep.
Yeah.
They've been made to believe what the white people are telling them, which is they are subservient and not human.
Right.
So so it's so funny because like Leo said in the one movie, but in this movie they make sure that you know that the educated black dude says that the rest of these black dudes are worthless.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
That absolutely happens today, right? In our education systems, right? Like where people are told, they're made to believe before they even realize what has been projected to them, they're made to believe I'm dumber than this person who is white besides me just because I'm black and they're white. And like, I can try it as hard as I can, and I can maybe get to a certain point, but you know what I mean? It's like it's been shaped in our history so much and ingrained so much in our society. I think, maybe this film is necessary. I don't know. But I do want to talk about this point though. Here's why, one of the reasons I didn't feel the film was necessary at the moment, which is we're at a point in today's society where people who are outright racist, like these kind of racists, are like they're clearly there, right? Donald Trump is like, everybody come out, but like, they're there. You know what I mean? They're like, come on out. We can do it in the
I'm the oxen free.
But come to me. No, but they're out there. But like most people, I think I can say, right? Most people are not operating from that standpoint, but there is racism that is ingrained into our society and into us as human beings as we grow up. So like, I feel like people watch this movie and they go, yeah, see? And now we have a black president, so racism is over.
Ooh,
you know what I mean? Like, I feel like people look at this instead of going back.
Are you raising your hand
instead
right
of going back and thinking, yeah, well, I'm going to tag you in a second. One second. I'm going to tag you in. I feel like instead of people going back and looking like, man, look at how bad it was. That makes sense why it's still not okay today, which is what the connection they should be making. You know what I mean? It's like, this really wasn't that long ago. You know what I mean? It's like, they should be making that connection, but instead the connection they're making is like, oh, see how far we have come? That means this is bad. I'm not this guy. I'm not even Benedict Cumberbatch. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't own slaves, so I'm good and I'm not racist. Yes.
Woo! You know what this movie is? You know what this movie is? This movie, The Help. All right? These movies aren't made. Good
we
job.
had a chorus of black women who just went,
Movies like this, I feel like one of the reasons you're saying, like, you feel like it wasn't necessary, because this movie wasn't made for people of color. This movie was made for people to be like what you said. It's made for, like, maybe my white people in the Midwest who don't know too many people of color, who are like, but you know what, I'm not bad. Like, you know what, they listen to rap, but they still good people. This is for them to feel like, hold on, this is for them to feel good about themselves. This is for them to watch this movie, right?
Right.
And just say, it's like what you just said. Oh, man, this is messed up. Thank goodness I'm not that person.
Right.
But in actuality, it's like, hey, these movies, these type of things where we keep showing, like these studio pictures, right? These studio pictures that are getting backed are showing people of color in such a beaten down state that we don't see powerful people. We don't have images for kids who maybe have never seen a black person to see, oh, this black person invented, like, the street light. This black person did this. You know what this shows them? Oh, hey, this black person was a slave. I knew they were slaves. Like, I've read about this in American U.S. history class. I see it now.
Right.
I get it. So, and you know what? Those white people were messed up. But you know what? I'm not that bad. I'm tired of making people feel good about themselves.
Right. So here's my thing, though. I don't think that's what Steve McQueen intended, right? That's definitely not what – I don't think that's what –
You thought he made this movie for –
I mean, I think he made it for everybody. I don't think he definitely didn't intend to make this movie so white people would feel good about themselves. You don't actually think that, right?
This is what I think.
Okay.
This is what I think. I was brought up, I knew about black history, right? I knew black people were slaves, right?
Right.
I knew that, my grandparents grew up in a time where, literally, I remember people grew up in a time where this room would never have existed. And
right.
This is 50, 60 years ago.
Right.
I know this. Right. I know this. Do I need to see a movie that reminds me of this? No, I'm going to tell you why, because I know it. Maybe there are other African Americans that don't know it, but to me, this isn't education for me. This movie.
I don't think that it's that it was made to make white people feel good about themselves, but I think that is a direct reason why movies like this get promoted and get awards and get accolades, because I think that people look at that and they see it, they're moved, right? But also that's something that, like, I think that people, they say, oh, I get that, but I also get that I am not that, and great. Here's your here's your award, right. Here's your thing.
Well, the Oscars love like heavy films and movies about war and the Holocaust and slavery. Like that's just the movies that they like. But here's something that I wish the film had done. I will say this: the film does a great job of portraying the theme of the human, like the survival of the human spirit. Right? He survives. He is like, I'm going, and he actually doesn't give up hope, because that's what happens to Lupita's character. She gives up hope. There's no hope, but to be fair, there is no hope for her. He actually had a hope to hang on to, which was he was already a free man. You know what I mean? But some people give up hope completely or sink into despair, like Eliza does. Right? He was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to survive because I know there is a better life ahead for me if I can somehow manage to get out of it. And I think it shows him getting beaten down, but I wish the film showed how being a slave for 12 years affected him more than just physically, right? He comes back, and the last scene we see is him saying, I'm sorry for my appearance. And so it immediately made you think of like, okay, he's been beaten, so he must have scars. He's got scars on his back and all this stuff. But what must it be like for people to continually tell you you're not human? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For somebody who is extremely well educated, and then for 12 years of their life, they're not allowed to be educated, because if they do, they will get killed. You know what I mean? Like, does that what does that do mentally for somebody?
For me, the last 30 minutes of the movie, Jerah, that you did not watch are the most interesting parts of the movie to me, because in that we see the moment where, he realizes, oh, this person is inquiring about I can do this. I can talk to you. I can, oh God. Okay. These are all the things that are true. Oh my God. I know that guy. I'm going to go hug. And all the while Michael Fassbender is saying, no, this guy's my property. And he's like, wait a minute. And no, I'm not. I don't have to listen to him. I'm a human. I can do. And that story is so interesting. Then he goes home. And the first thing he says is,
"This is not the last 30 minutes, dude. This is
no.
Like,
I'm 8. It's the last.
It's like the last 5.
Hold on. I got a response.
It's the last 10.
Okay.
It's the last 10. But that was what I watched in the cab on the way here. The last 25 or so.
What are you doing?
And it was the
How are you guys watching movies? By the way. Do you not sit down and watch a movie all the way through?
I watched it on my
laptop. That's what you're supposed to do when you watch a movie.
Hey, I've seen this movie before, and I got tired of seeing black people get beat.
Right. No, but wait. So
excuse me.
But then this happens. At the end, they go, words come up on the screen that are like, yeah, this is what Solomon did after he was a slave. And it was like, he was an abolitionist, and he was. And he took all these people to court, and they all got off, but he took them to court. And also, it's a mystery how he died. A whirlwind of interesting things happen at the end of this that are not just a black guy getting beaten.
Exactly.
But what they decide to do is throw it in at the end. And I think that's what part is so right. Yeah. Exactly. That's why I bring it. I think that part is so interesting, and I think that is a story that I would have loved to have watched.
And that's what upsets me most about the movie as a whole. And here's it, like, I don't want to sit here and be like, this is a bad movie. It's not. It does what it sets out to do. But I'm wondering why we still feel like the thing that we have to set out to do is just show, like Jerah is clearly angry about, a black body just getting beaten down, and it's still about the body.
It's a body. It's the
body. We don't really. There are moments, and we get like some cool scenes where we get to see him be smart and all this stuff, but we don't get to see the degradation of his intelligence. We don't get to see mentally how it's really
affecting him. Really,
other than like his scene with Brad Pitt, where he's like, it would be like he's so desperate, but it's like an air of desperation, and it's not really reflective of. Do you even know what it feels like to be somebody who is intelligent, who is almost, if not more intelligent than the people who are lording over me, and I have to pretend like I'm this dumb dude, and I have to not talk, and if I do, I get beaten. So we have to talk about Brad Pitt's scene.
Hold on, no. Let me get before we get to the white savior in the movie, because that's what he is.
And producer and co-producer.
Of course, he got that role. Anyway, the one thing I did notice in this movie was I wish we would have saw more of like Solomon's connection to the other slaves. Right? Like I know they had Lapita, but like you're saying, like he's now thrusted in this world because early on in the movie, before he gets captured, he takes his wife to a store, and in that store. There's an indentured servant, right? A black dude just on the street with his master. And this black dude is so enamored with the thought of like this black man and his family dressed in a fancy suit. He had his hat and he's going into the grocery store by himself, right? This black dude wanders off and goes into the grocery store and just stares at him, right? Until his owner, whatever you want to call it.
And the movie also sets it up for us to think he is another educated black man because the store owner comes up to him. He's like, "Hey, sir, what would you like to buy? We have this and we have that." And then
the slave owner comes in. Or whatever that guy is. I don't know. I feel like he was an indentured servant. He was like an indentured servant.
He must have been because right, he couldn't have been a slave
because he was.
in the North.
I feel like he had to be a indentured servant. But I don't know. What do you call your boss? Like his boss, I guess, came in. I don't know.
We'll just say he was a slave.
I don't know. I don't know how that works.
Acted like that's what the movie made it seem like for sure. Yeah.
But to me, it's like so you see this happen, right? You see the white store owner come back and give like Solomon a nod. Solomon looks up, gives him a nod back. And it's almost like, to me, how I took it is like, just another one of them, you know? And then later on, when Solomon is taken captive, he's on the ship, and his friend, wish I would remember that character's name, his owner's there, and he runs off, and he's screaming for him. Like, come, help me out. Get me. And I remember at the end of the movie, when Solomon's about to leave, we see Lapita's character, and she's doing the same thing to Solomon. Like, screaming for him to just say something for me, try to get me out of here too. And he does the same thing the black dude did to him,
right.
Which is like look at her and just keep moving, right?
Yeah.
And to me, it's like what is that connection? Like what does that say about how black people feel about each other, right? Like
or today, right?
Like today, like do we help? Like do we help each other? Like what kind of image is that saying about us? I know it's like I may be thinking too much into this, but what is that saying?
Well,
you didn't help each other.
It was a divide and conquer method, right? That's what you do. You make people care only about themselves because of fear. If they banded together, they would all die. Yeah. So they literally was like, and that's the whole movie,
right?
Solomon is like, I have to look after me. If I look after this other person, I'm gonna die, and they're gonna die. So let me just look after me. And that's true. That I think that does happen.
I think
in communities today.
I think it does happen today, and it's hard too, right? Because I'm not gonna be the one to say like, we need to just have a revolution right now. But in watching this movie, there were moments, that was one of them, and the moment I mentioned before, that made me feel like it's like, yeah, like we should all be fighting more, you know?
And so the other thing I want to mention is, before we get to Brad Pitt.
You talk about Lapita before Brad Pitt?
Okay.
I mean, you can go first, but can you talk about Lapita first?
I just wanted to say, like, in what you said, we don't have him interacting with slaves that seem to be less educated than he is. Like, Lupita seems to be, like, very exceptional, right? These exceptional Negroes. It's like Lupita. We have Eliza. We have, what's the woman who married, or not married, but seems to be, like, when they have, like, tea and...
Oh, the mistress?
Yes, the mistress.
Mistress Shaw?
Mistress Shaw,
Alfred.
We have Mistress Shaw, and we have, Omar and the other guy on the boat. Omar Epps.
Oh, no, not Omar Epps.
Omar.
His name is Omar. Did Omar have a last name on The Wire? No, did he? Did Omar have a last name?
We are not talking about The Wire.
Now we're calling Michael K. Williams Omar Epps.
Williams.
No. I was calling him Omar. His name is Omar on The Wire, but does Omar have a last name?
He plays a character in this. His name is Robert.
His name was Robert?
His name is Robert.
His name was not Robert. His name is Robert.
His name is Robert.
Was that ever said?
I don't know if it was.
No, wait.
They wrote that man's name was not Robert, man.
I just wanted to say, though, so we have Michael K. Williams. We have Chiwetel Ejiofor, right, and we have Lupita.
Yo, his name was Robert.
Okay. We have some of these characters, but most of the names, if you look at the poster for 12 Years a Slave, it's still mostly white actors.
Yeah.
Yeah, Paul Giamatti,
And
Brad
it was
Pitt,
like,
Michael
you know,
Fassbender.
where you go. Paul Giamatti, right, Michael Fassbender, you have Brad Pitt, you have
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Taron Killam, and you have all, so it was still, because I know this, one of the reasons people were like, oh, the reason this film is necessary is because it's told through the eyes of, like the lead is a black man, whereas like something like Amistad,
It was still through Matthew McConaughey.
it's kind of told through Matthew McConaughey, even though and I guess people don't count Roots because it was like a TV movie, but so
And
I
Roots
was
too?
I didn't, but I don't, but do you feel, you know what I mean, like, do you feel like there wasn't enough time, right, devoted to Eliza?
I feel like
there
wasn't.
there, like, I remember Lupita's role being so strong when I saw it. I honestly, because I remember when she got nominated, I was like, oh yeah, because I remembered her from the movie. I didn't know her name at all, but I remember her being great. But then rewatching it, I was like, she actually doesn't have too much to do in this movie.
Ooh, can I ask you a question since you bring it up? I'm going to step away from John when I say this. You brought up... No, because I'm scared you might
What are you doing?
I'm scared you might yell at me. So you brought up in an episode, right? Like, we talked about, like, no, you got to protect me.
Why are you
gotta protect
crouching?
Me. No, y'all don't understand. Jonathan Braylock is abusive, okay?
Don't believe it.
So I'll make sure. No, look. No, but seriously, you brought up, like, we were talking about it, like, off, like, not on podcast. We talk about, like, Revenant, right? And, like, Leonardo DiCaprio... Like, he plays a person who's cold, and a lot of times people are like, oh, my goodness.
I can't believe you're bringing this up. Do you want to...
No. I only bring it up because I have a question, because I'm like, is it the same
I have
thing?
a note.
Because, my question is, because, like, oh, my God. Because Lupita is playing such a abused character, right? The question was, you know, Leonardo DiCaprio was getting all this love for playing somebody who was, like, cold, going through a lot of things. And we're like, oh, of course he's doing great because he's cold in real life. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course he's going to do good because he's a dude who's cold. Now, my thing is, if you're an actress and you're playing someone who is literally, every time you're on screen, it's like getting beat, getting, like, tortured, is it the thing of, like, oh, of course she would do good at this because that is what you're physically being put of. So, like, is there a big difference?
Well, here's my difference. Because Lupita has a monologue scene where it's one of the best monologues, like, on screen, I think, where she's asking Solomon to kill her.
I thought that's the one.
And she has another one with Michael Fassbender's character where she was like, I'm just getting soap. I pick 500 pounds a day. I pick more than every single person here. I deserve to be clean. And there's like a very powerful scene there. So she has these two scenes. Yes, it's like it gets the attention drawn to it because of that. But then she also has like those acting moments to back it up. I'm sorry for people here who love The Revenant and love Leo in The Revenant. I love Leonardo DiCaprio.
I wasn't even thinking about that.
To me, though, the more, and I wrote down, to me, Leo's role is more like Chiwetel's role in this, where even though Chiwetel Ejiofor had more, I think, acting moments than Leo gets to do in The Revenant, Chiwetel Ejiofor's character is beaten a lot in this movie. And it's like, to me, it was like one of those things where it's just a man who's surviving. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Leo is going to win the Oscar. Chiwetel Ejiofor was never going to win the Oscar.
I would,
He wasn't. He wasn't. Not
that.
in that race. He was never a front runner.
I would say this also in line with what you're just talking about, because I had that question in the back of my mind too. I think that she had to act those moments as well. Like Leo is cold because it's however many degrees it is outside. Right, but she, but she has to be whipped, but she's not being. You know what I mean? She's not being whipped. She has to also translate that. You know what I mean? She has to also navigate what that would be like for her, and then like what you're saying, those moments also connect to those deep scenes that she has.
Okay, let's talk about Brad Pitt.
Okay,
so Plan B is the production company. It's Brad Pitt is part of one of the owners of that production company. And here's the thing. He said, because people did criticize him for being in the role of the one guy who like doesn't believe in slavery and winds up saving, in a way, Solomon. He says, like, I had to be in the movie because they needed to sell it. He's like, he didn't want to be in the movie, but for them to get it sold, they were like, you need to be in it. So he put himself in that role because it was a small role. That's his excuse. What? Jerah's not
I'm saying Paul Giamatti's role was pretty small too.
I was thinking the same thing. Paul Giamatti's role was small. I mean, my thing about the movie is that this is one of those movies where I'm going to compare it to The Help again. Is that a white person always tries to help out, right? Is at the end of the day, like no matter how
which
much,
isn't a bad thing.
Which no, it's not a bad thing. But the thing is, like, it's kind of like all that fighting, all that education is like you still need. To me, it's like no matter how smart, no matter how educated you are, you still need a white person to be like, oh, you know what, I got your back. You know what I'm saying? Because think about it. How many other educated slaves were probably on that same plantation? You know, it had to be another one, right? It could have been.
Peter.
And it's like, I'm going to help you out. You're the one. And it's like, I'm tired of this movie where it's like, it's the savior. It's like, it's a savior. Technically, I almost thought it was going to be two, but I forgot that, because, what's his name? Benedict Cumberbatch kind of was helping him out, but then at the end, he was like, I sold you to someone else. It's like he had his gun in to defend him. So it was like, it was weird. It was a very weird kind of like, I liked you, but only until I needed you kind of thing. I'm tired of these white savior movies. I'm tired of movies like, what is it? Dangerous Minds, where she goes into the project. You know, I'm going to teach the kids how to do math. I'm like, come on, man. I got to watch The Blind Side, where it's like Sandra Bullock, oh, this black kid, he needs help. He needs help. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to help him out.
Is that those characters are the main. We're seeing the story told through their eyes, and this one we're seeing the story.
I don't care.
All right.
When's the last time you seen a movie with the black teacher going to the suburbs to get people to stop doing drugs? How many movies have we seen of that? You telling me there's not one black teacher in Santa Barbara stopping a kid from doing coke? Get the fuck out of here!
Can I do a quick plug real quick to a sketch I did in college where I played the black teacher that goes to the white school? Y'all gotta look it up. It's called Black Teacher Dumb White Kids. Look it up.
I mean, my thing is, there's gotta be a teacher somewhere who, you know what? You tell me there's no, we all have seen the teacher. What is it?
Serve and Love?
Serve and Love? To Serve and Love? That's a movie?
Coming from Jonathan's parents.
No, but I need to know that.
Sidney Poitier.
Oh my goodness, yes. Go look at this movie.
Everybody go watch To Serve and Love.
Because I know we all seen recently that viral video of like the teacher in Atlanta, the principal who's like hip-hop dancing with the kids, and everybody's like, oh my God, we got to get his teacher money. We got to get his teacher money. You telling me there's no Puerto Rican teacher somewhere teaching some white kids about who gives a fuck? Something? He don't get an award or a grant?
Or a grant?
He don't get a grant?
People are like, oh, we got to donate to this school in Atlanta. He dancing with the kids. I'm like, it's cool he dancing with them, but shit, can they read? Can they read? Do we know what the SAT scores? Fuck, I know they can dance. They from Atlanta. That's what they do. Can they read? Ain't no one has told me yet can these kids read. But you know what? They danced 3 times on the news. Come on.
I can't,
Yeah, James, we back. We back.
All right. Great job. It's it's time for the worst.
No, but hold on. Okay, I'm having some difficulties.
Collective groans for people who know what's coming.
Okay, you go ahead and set it up. I'm trying to think.
I'm going to I have to explain this segment?
You got to explain it.
All right, I'll try my best. So we have a segment. We have a segment called The Swirl.
But can we tell how we started it, though?
Well, we started it because most films, in fact, almost every film up until Focus, where there were no films where very specific, where a black male and a white woman have sex on screen, and it's not about race. Focus 2015 is the first time that happened. I know a lot of people are like, what about Guess Who's Coming? First of all, there's so many movies where they don't have sex at all, even though they clearly are having sex in the movie, like Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, Blazing Saddles. Because
basically like what happened was we were doing Beverly Hills Cop, and for people who know, Beverly Hills Cop was written for Sylvester Stallone, and in that movie there was a love scene.
There is a love scene.
And it was a love scene written in that script, and then when you watch the movie, they're still in the hotel. It got rewritten, and they still have the hotel scene, but all of a sudden they're just sitting there talking about how good they were friends back in like high school or something. I'm like, wait, where'd that scene go? And then there's a famous thing with Julia Roberts in The Pelican Brief is a remake of a Frank Sinatra movie where there is like a very loving scene between the two people after they're being chased. And all of a sudden in The Pelican Brief, stars Denzel taking over the Frank Sinatra role. That scene is gone.
Right.
And then you have Will Smith movies like I, Robot, and there's like Bridget Monahan who's the lead, and it's like, wait, why is he high-fiving Bridget Monahan?
Yeah,
he tries to kiss Charlize Theron in Hancock, and she throws him through a damn wall.
Yeah,
she does.
She literally you
throws him through a wall.
She didn't come.
They didn't even get it. They don't even get the
threw him through a wall.
We just reviewed Good Burger, which is a silly kids film, but in that movie, Carmen Electra is like seducing Kel. And when she goes to kiss him, Kel takes her and flips her over, which is a funny comedic moment, but it's like exactly the same. So anyway, this is why we do the swirl. It has nothing to do with that being the epitome of...
No, to me, it's like, it just shows like, and this is, I'm about to get real deep. I'm so sorry. This goes back to like, to me, the times of like Emmett Till, where it's like if you were a black man, you could not be seen with a white woman because that was against everything. So to me, now in Hollywood, we still have this thing in movies of like, and women are not property, women can do whatever they want, but it's that thing of like, we can have what you have, but don't you dare have what I have. Like, if you look at these movies, you have Zoe Saldana, Halle Berry. Think about it. When's the last time you seen Zoe Saldana, Halle Berry, or Jennifer Lopez with a lead that was a minority? Like, their love interest was a minority lead. Jennifer Lopez just had that movie, The Boy Next Door, white dude. Like, Halle Berry had the TV show, had number of movies, white dude. Zoe Saldana literally has not had a black love interest since Drumline. You know what I'm saying? It's like, this is the thing where it's like, I love swirls. I think the moment people get to a point of like equality, we're good. But the thing is, we see these things where like women of color are always with these handsome white leads, but it's never vice versa. And these are the thing, we only got but so many who get studio pictures. We only got Denzel and Will.
All right,
Will can't get no love.
Right. So
Will's the one.
So we have to play the music. We have the music.
I got to decide I'm gonna do it. You know what?
Do we have the music?
You know what? Don't even worry about it. I know what I'm going to do. And this one, y'all not going to like it because I don't like it, but it needs to be said.
You want us to... you want me to hum the music? Oh, is it playing?
Oh, damn.
We switched it up a little bit. All right, Jerah.
All right.
Somehow you're going to do a swirl for 12 Years a Slave.
No, Don't worry. Don't mow. You're going to be powerful. This is a powerful one. I want to rewrite the movie a little bit. So everyone, remember back to the movie. Let's rewrite it. Let's rewrite the movie a little bit. That scene when Solomon comes back from the grocery store, right? He comes back from the grocery store, and like the wife who's already mad at Michael Fassbender is like, "Oh, you're a learned man, aren't you?" And she knows it. She knows he's an exceptional Negro, but she doesn't want to say it because she doesn't know how she feels about him yet, right? And the scene after that is Michael Fassbender going in and taking Lupita out. Let's scratch that scene from the movie. Let's take Michael Fassbender doing terrible things to Lupita out the movie, right? Let's cut to another scene. Instead of Michael Fassbender coming through that door, it's the wife. The wife comes through the door.
I actually thought that was going to happen in the movie.
He comes through the door. The wife comes in. Solomon, I am sorry. I have these emotions. I don't know what to do. My husband's a horrible person. All right? I'm taking out anger on poor Patsy. What do we do? How do we release this? And mind you, we're in the slave house. Remember that. We're in the slave house. And she's like, you know what? I wish I could just let go of this energy. And he's like,
my God.
I'm pent up too.
No.
And you know what they do? They have that aggressive love making that when you haven't seen somebody for a long time, they just let everything out. All the other slaves are like, you go, Solomon.
Oh, my God, no.
Wait, why this way?
You go, Solomon.
No.
Yes, they are. They're like,
but
you
they
do
just
this,
say,
Solomon.
go, Solomon, go.
No. In their head, it's in their head. They don't scream it. It's that thing where you see like your friend and like they have a beautiful like girlfriend and you're like, yes. it's that silent yes.
But they like know his name. They know his name.
They know about it. They know he's smart. You know what they say? Man, that was an exceptional Negro.
Oh. All right. Wow.
That actually fit into the movie though. That actually fit. Come on, man. Let's take out the Lupita rape scene. We don't want to see that.
No, that's
Let's
true.
take out a scene.
There's also a bad scene with Chiwetel Ejiofor in the movie.
He did get taken advantage of.
Didn't he? I felt it was.
Wait,
he wasn't.
which
but
part?
that woman
Remember
wasn't
early
white.
on with like the woman when he was on the ship. The woman
It's a
like
really
wakes him up.
random scene.
She wakes him up.
that they show in the beginning of the movie, and you have there's zero context for it, and then you see it like very briefly.
I think it was to
again.
show how harsh the situation was because she cried right after that. Like afterwards, like you see her turn around and you hear cries. So I'm assuming like she was so desperate for like affection or a connection that
I see.
she wanted it, which is what would have happened if the slave owner wives would have came in. She was like, I need a connection. Solomon, give it to me. play the violin afterwards, that's what would have happened.
Play the violin afterwards.
Michael Fassbender couldn't play the violin, could he?
Couldn't.
He couldn't play the violin.
He couldn't play the violin.
Solomon could play the violin.
I can't argue with that. He couldn't play the violin.
You thought it was bad. That wasn't that bad. That made sense. That made sense.
It wasn't bad, and
do you have anything?
It made sense
to add, James?
No. Let me just check.
I hate when he reads.
He's checking his notes.
Let me just check my notes, see if I have anything else.
Can we just do the
So like After Earth though? Have you guys seen After Earth? Because
have we seen After Earth?
Yeah, have you seen it? Because like think about how it connects to this movie.
Please tell me.
Okay. So like in After Earth, we're on Earth. It's a new time now, right? It's a different. It's
It's in
different
the future,
grounds.
man.
It's different grounds than these people are used to. You know, they're strangers in this land. You know.
You are reaching.
And listen. And they are enslaved by their inability to express their emotions.
Yo, start the calls.
Start
the calls. Start the calls.
No, because they're cool.
All right, now we're gonna do some questions
before the calls.
I think so. Yeah. Oh wait, no, we do the calls.
We do the calls. Let's do the calls.
All right.
Wait, don't we ask questions first?
I think we ask questions first.
All right, cool.
We gotta because they're gonna give their opinions and then we're gonna give.
And then that's gonna help
final
us.
Say.
Okay, got you. Okay.
So
where's NYU Carly?
Yeah, we're NYU Carly.
Yeah.
Wait, do we have an extra mic? Oh, great. Okay, so guys, if you have questions, we're gonna come out to you now. If you have questions about the movie, or about the podcast in general, things that we missed, something that you want to say, just raise your hand and we'll come to you and we'll answer them. But
there's a stipulation. So you got to do one of three things before you can ask a question. You got to say whether or not you think this movie helps the cause, or you have to say whether or not this movie is better than After Earth, or third, you can say...
That's the easy way out.
Yeah, that's the easy way out. Or third, you can tell us if there could have been a swirl and where would it have gone.
Oh, God. Yeah,
I like to move around.
Just for those who don't know, we rate movies. The cause is more leading actors of color in major motion pictures. We give it either a black fist, meaning it helped the cause, a white palm, meaning it was so-so, or nothing. Okay? That's the rating system. All right, great.
It took about three questions,
anybody
right?
have questions
like 3
or
questions,
comments?
Right?
Or?
Yeah, like 3. Okay. 3 wonderfully awesome questions, right? 3. Oh.
Or you can say your name.
Hi. Sorry, Jeremy.
Hey, Jeremy.
Hey, Jeremy.
Hello.
Listening to your podcast since Barbershop.
Oh,
thanks.
Oh, man, Barbershop is... Well,
that's a heavy one.
Yeah.
First, I have to give it a white palm.
White palm, okay.
Yeah, because I agree with Jerah in that I'm just tired of seeing slave movies. I feel like in Hollywood, there's so
What's
many
your favorite slave movie?
What's your favorite slave movie?
Slave movie?
Why you got a favorite?
Why does he? He just said he's tired of seeing
Why
them.
would he have a
That's what I'm saying.
favorite?
It's like, but I'm
He doesn't have a favorite one. He
Well,
doesn't.
maybe he has a favorite one. That's why he's like this. They already did it great, and we don't need to see it again.
Okay, it's not, okay. The Global movie is like TV specials. It's like it's just a
Yeah.
part
Oh,
of
totally.
history that's
His
fair.
favorite.
And it's just that to see a black actor get nominated for a role, it has to be in some kind of like historically accurate black person. So like we got Martin Luther King. Like how many movies have about Martin Luther King? We got one about Malcolm X. There's another one coming out about...
We got Denzel in Training Day.
Yeah.
That's a historically accurate film.
No, I'm saying that's one that's not an historic...
I got you.
Anyway.
And another one coming out with, I don't know, they said, is that the Nazi one? Yeah, where the Olympics and Nazi...
race.
Yeah, race.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Guess what that one's about?
Yeah, I think this movie, I'm giving it a palm because I think like it got best adapted screenplay. It helped. Everyone got out there, but I'm just tired of seeing. I want there to be a movie where it doesn't have to be a black thing, where it has to be or oppression or slaves or anything like that. Where it can just be people.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So, it's like,
Cool. All right.
Thank you.
you.
I agree with you. I agree. That was that. Yeah, because I'm like, man. I'm telling you, Birth of the Nation's gonna get an Oscar nomination, and y'all gonna say, "Can we review it?" And I'm gonna say, "Hell no." I'm not watching no more slavery movies.
I don't know why. No.
No more slavery movies will be watched by me.
Here.
Slavery movie.
You are so.
There's a show called The Underground coming out. It's about the Underground Railroad. Good Lord.
Wait, it's called
real?
The Underground.
I saw the trailer today. It's on PBS. It's called Underground. And the first thing the guy says is, this. It was like one of those behind the scenes. This is different from any other movie because we're fighting to escape. Oh, good Lord.
All right.
Sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
What's your name?
Steven, friends with Jerah.
What's up, Steven?
Hello, what's that?
I'll give it actually a fist.
All right.
Okay.
I think you guys can't name more than 5 movies about slavery.
That's what I was saying in the beginning.
Name like a lot of sports movies.
Yeah, it's like
sports movies. So I think it was good because I think this was probably the most realistic depiction of what it was. And so that was what was so uncomfortable about watching it. And I guess my comment is I think it was really emotional. You did get to see him a lot emotionally. There's one scene in particular where he this thing, the Negro spiritual.
Yes,
kind
that
of
was a good
break.
Scene. That was
I
a
think
good
that was
scene.
the moment where you saw him break, and that's
that
when
was
he
a good
connected
scene.
with the rest of the slaves. Because
yes.
That was a good scene.
They did look at him in awe a lot, and then he kind of looked down upon them. But that was the one moment.
That
where
was
he
the
kinda
one moment.
realized, like they actually figured it out.
Right.
Because I'm trying to be smart and try to figure this out, but they literally had to just look at God and say, "This is fucked."
Yeah.
Yes.
They had to sing along. So I think that was like the moment. And quick thing, because I'll pass it on. I actually think the white savior worked in this case, just because there's no other way he would have gotten free.
No, it's true. I'm just saying.
But it's Jerah's mad.
No,
Jerah's actually mad at everything else.
No, I agree. Like
he
needed that, but it's just like
also it's what really happened in real life.
I know.
Cool.
Can I just say real quick, thank you for bringing up that scene and that moment, because I think that moment is, I mean, I know we don't have time to talk about it, but that's a really powerful moment.
That's the one moment that we wanted. That's the one that we were talking about.
Well, because it's like, it feels
relating to these other people.
It also kind of feels like, at least for me, it was like, oh no, I almost don't want him to sing, because it's like, oh, is the singing like an acceptance? But no, the singing is it's more of a release and like a fight, and
he understands the purpose.
It's so beautiful. So thank you for bringing up that. Yeah. He said it's kind of like the diaspora.
No, that's just for us.
No,
the listeners can never know.
Go ahead, tell them.
Let's talk about the diaspora. Yeah,
tell them, James.
Great.
Okay.
Okay. I'd like to remain anonymous.
Oh man, that's so weird. We had another live episode where somebody remained anonymous. Sounded like you. All right, I'm sorry.
Okay. So I don't know whether I'm a fist or a palm. I feel really conflicted, so I kind of want to speak to why I'm so conflicted.
Is this your comment?
Yes.
Then you have to give something else if you're not going to give it a rating.
I'm telling you, my rating is confliction between palm.
I'm not going to fight with her.
What I'm saying is,
wait.
In terms of our stipulation,
let her say why, and then maybe that's a question that we can help to answer.
No, I agree that's the question, but I'm saying we get to say the question by saying something. So you can say something about, is it better than
Braylock's? Tell him he's not winning this battle.
Is it better than After Earth?
Is it better than? That shouldn't be the question.
That's the question. Is it better than After Earth, or do you want to give it a swirl?
Listen, I'm not giving it a swirl.
Is it better than After Earth?
I'm not giving it a swirl. I gave it a swirl last time. Okay.
Yeah. Is it better than After Earth?
You know it's better than After Earth.
Okay. All right.
I feel like we stepped into something that we wasn't ready for.
Now I'm talking about my conflict. So the strength of the movie that I would want to give it a fist is because we get to see that there was a person who was a free man, and we get to see a little bit of that story, and we get to see it through, like, this was written by Solomon. Like, it's amazing to hear the story through the eyes of a black man, right. And we get to see this. This is new to a lot of people, this idea of a free man in that time. So I think all of that is like powerful and gives fist, and we get to see a lot of confusing moments, like James talks about, of like strength within slavery, because we've seen so many stories of just like a quote unquote submissiveness within slavery for survival, of course. But my like complication with that is that we get so confused about, just like Jerah saying, we see so much of our like black history is in our slavery story, and I feel like that's so confusing. Like so much of black history is about slavery, and we don't need to see it anymore. It's like as if we would celebrate women's history, and by celebrating women's history, we would talk about all of the domestic violence and rape that happens to women. It's like, that's not the story of black history, that's white history. That's, that's not the story of women's history. That's the story of men's history. We're so confused around it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I feel like we don't need to see it anymore. And then I get upset about it in this film because we see so much more emphasis. We had so much time watching her be whipped, and we had so much time in that violence. And I don't think that the world needs to see on screen any more of this, like violence to the black body. So then I don't want to give it a fist.
Right.
Yeah,
Cool.
man. That's real.
Yeah, that's real. Yeah. Up here?
And while you call, you running up the steps. Yeah. I was trying to get her a clap.
I understand all of the problems that people have with the movie, and it's nice hearing all of it because it's the first time that I've
seen it.
No, seen it and heard about the problems that people have towards the movie. But I give it a fist because I thought it was really interesting that you brought up that the movie was really well received internationally. I watched the movie in Korea, which is where I'm from. And the movie did so well, both critically acclaimed and I know the movie made a lot of money in Korea. Because I think Korea is relatively a very homogenous country that's very collective in its mindset. And I think seeing this for the first time was really powerful for people over there. And I think for other nations who are so removed from this period of history in the U.S. And I thought it was really refreshing for me to hear how moved my people were. And yeah.
It's a good point. Great.
Yeah. Sir in the front. Korea, that's deep.
That's a good point. It did very well internationally.
I'm going to give the movie a fist.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
From a white man's point of view. When you spoke about, from Omaha, Nebraska, when you talked about, from your view, was the movie made, and as white people saw it, did it make them feel better? Because I'm not like that. Look at me. My feeling was when I saw the movie was embarrassment, was sadness. As a white man, I'm thinking, how could any man do that to another man?
Right.
So I give it a fist because I thought it shows how inhumane we can be to one another, and it makes me want to be better.
It's a good point. It's a good point.
I'm going to continue with that because man's inhumanity to man, and maybe you are tired of seeing slavery movies, and people are tired of seeing Holocaust movies. And the sadness is that if we don't keep reminding people of this inhumanity that we all shared in,
right,
that we are doomed to repeat it. And some of the things that you say, and you talk about the Midwest, and the sad thing is that I've talked to black people in the Midwest, and they've said they'd rather be in the South, where it's open, it's not hidden, but sometimes people they're subversive about their racism.
Right.
And that is something we need to address for sure, because we need to look at every human being as the same as ourselves and how we would be treated. And it's a crucial message that the movie sells. That's why they made 150 million, whatever they made, because it's sold. But it really needs, the story cannot be forgotten.
Great.
Man. Do we?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm going to give it a palm just because, and I would love your opinion on...
I just want to note something. You set a trend of nobody introducing their names.
Sorry, I'm Mike.
Mike.
I'm Mike, and I'm sorry.
It is your fault. Go ahead, Mike. It's your fault, Mike.
And I'm going to give it a palm, and I want your opinion on this, too. So with Brad Pitt's casting, and I know you've talked about it a little bit, but don't you think that moment would have been so much cooler if it was a no-name actor? Because I think, for me, when he comes on stage, on screen, I'm like, oh, damn, that's Brad Pitt.
Yeah, totally.
I forgot he was in this. And, that whole moment almost gets... overshadowed because
he's Brad Pitt.
Hey, it looks Brad Pitt's new facial hair or whatever.
Yeah,
and,
I agree. That's Hollywood too. I felt the same way about The Martian, where Matt Damon was the surprise cameo, and I was like,
you mean
great?
No,
not The Martian.
Interstellar.
Interstellar. Yeah, he was in the he was a man trapped on a planet in 2 movies.
Yeah, back to
I
back.
mean, how does that happen? But I was seriously, I was like,
you
what?
always got to save Matt Damon. Save it, Prime Ryan.
Gotta save Matt Damon. Gotta save Matt
You
Damon.
always got to save Matt Damon.
I agree as well. I wrote down the second it happened, like I'm suddenly watching a movie when Brad Pitt walks on. It was like I was like lost in it before, and then he's there, and it's like, oh, okay, all right.
That's how I feel when Oprah's in a movie. It's like sometimes but sometimes when I watch something, I was like, why is Oprah in this scene? But I think it's the thing of like, to sell this movie. I mean, that's just
movie.
That's just what it is.
All right, we have here
because no one's gonna say no to Oprah.
We can get both.
All right.
Hi, my name is Io, and I give the movie a fist because of something that Steve McQueen said, actually, who's like a director that I really admire. And like an interviewer asked him like about the perception of the movie, like something similar to what you guys were talking about how white people seem to like feel after the movie, and he said like while laughing, like I don't make movies for white people. Like the discomfort and just like the raw nature of it like was all really intentional, and just like wanted to tell the story as truthfully as possible. Like and even like when James was talking about this scene where Simon is just like hanging, it's like so chilling, and you just see the kids playing, and it's like so reflective just on like all the terrible things that are happening right now in our country, like people's bodies just being left in the street, like, and while the cops are there like examining it, and like the people of the community will like watch that happen. Like it's really awful, but really moving that he chose to portray that as much as he did, even though it's hard to watch. But what really interested me as well was when you guys were talking about Eliza and how she's a character who is like trying to hold on to her hope, and she wasn't, like the actress who played her wasn't really recognized for that, and it made me think of Viola Davis in Doubt. If you guys
of course,
that. Because like
she was nominated
in the movie
too.
for like 8.5 seconds, and she was nominated for an Oscar, and that's like not the real time.
Yeah,
but
no, she was nominated. It was 12 minutes. 12 minutes of full screen time.
in like a full length movie.
Yeah, full screen time.
Which happens.
Happened to Robert De Niro in The Godfather Part
and
2.
Anthony Hopkins won Best Actor for being in the film for like what, 13 minutes?
Yeah, it's so
16?
short.
Yeah.
He doesn't blink, which is kind of cool. Anyways, so yeah, that's like an interesting sort of like thing that I was thinking about, and I don't really have an answer to it. And like part of me just wonders if it's like the politics of it, and if they were like, listen, like we have one slave movie and we have one really good actress, so like we can only pick one to like lobby for, like that process,
part of it.
which like
Yeah.
stinks, but I don't know. That's just something that I was like,
All right,
about.
thank you.
Yes. Let's get one more in this thing.
Yeah.
I'm CJ.
Hey, CJ.
I'm going to give the movie a fist, because if the cause is more leading black actors of color in Hollywood, then I think from this movie, even though Chiwetel was in stuff before this, he really popped after this movie. And Lupita, even though they CGI'd the hell out of her in Star Wars, she really popped after this movie. And so if the cause is just more leading people of color in major motion pictures, then I think this movie achieved that.
So is Lupita the lead in Star Wars?
She's not the lead.
All right, wait, hold on 1 second though.
But she's in Star Wars.
What's a movie with Chiwetel that came after 12 Years a Slave where he's the lead?
Oh, shit.
He's got one coming.
He's got one coming? All right, cool. I'm just saying, y'all. I'm just saying, we gotta make sure we know what's happening. Who was the lead of The Martian, which Chiwetel Ejiofor was in?
Oh, but first off, he was brown casted. He was brown casted.
He was brown. It's true. He was brown casted.
Because that role was an Asian in the book, right? Was it Indian? Oh, they trying to set him up. Oh, you know what they did? They were like, "No, I'm playing with y'all."
No, I'm just kidding. No,
they still could have had him in there.
So I have one quick comment.
Go ahead.
You guys talked about Zoe Saldana not having a male of color as her love interest in the movie since Drumline. We see the same thing with black men. When's the last time Denzel or Will had a woman of color as their love interest.
Well, Denzel has, like, he had
Hitch.
I mean, Flight. He had this is the thing. Woman of color. Like, are we not including Latinas? Because, like, I mean, he had, like, Denzel had Paula Patton. He had
Training
Eva
Day
Mendes.
Eva Mendes.
He had Eva Mendes twice, technically.
Yeah.
Sanaa Lathan was in Deja Vu. Will Smith.
Last time they had a dark skinned woman.
See, that is the question you should be asking.
Yeah.
That is the question, because how many dark skinned women do we have in Hollywood? Period. Because they could technically, people made it like when Lupita came out, they were like, "Oh my gosh, she's so beautiful, her skin." I'm like, yeah, black women that have darker pigment
have
are
existed.
Like, they've been beautiful. People made it like they were like she was some foreign creature that no one had ever seen before. And it's like, no, but it's like people are like, "Oh my God." And the thing is, right now, so when you bring that up, I do think complexion sometimes matters, because I mean, we got Lupita. I mean, we have Viola Davis, who is literally, and makes sure you know that she's a dark-skinned woman who's older. But outside of them,
there are people, but they're not. They're not.
Yeah, but
leads.
it's not.
They're
like
rarely ever the lead.
They're not the talk of the town.
Yeah, I mean Pam Grier. Well, I don't know.
No. That's a good question, because like we don't have many. Because I feel like complexion matters. I mean, the thing is, if it was a Tyler Perry movie, as a dark-skinned dude, he gonna beat a woman in it. He ain't gonna save the day. Like, he sure ain't gonna save the day if it's a Tyler Perry movie, and that's a black dude. So, like, what are we saying?
All right.
Sorry, we gotta do the calls?
Yeah,
Sorry.
we gotta do the calls.
All right.
We've been talking about slavery for 2 hours.
Yeah, all right, let's do this calls.
All right. Who wants to go first?
No, we gotta do it.
Oh, we're going. All right, that's right. I'm sorry.
Can I get an extra second?
Yeah, can this be a 4-second countdown?
Yeah, can you do a 4?
All right, I'll do a 4-second countdown.
Cool.
I'm gonna close my eyes.
All right,
me too.
I know what's happening. 4, 3.
Hold on, wait. Do we go on 1, or are we gonna go after 1? Let's go after.
I think it's like 1, and then we put our.
Okay. Let's do that.
Okay.
4, 3, 2, 1. All right. That's fair. We got 2 black fists and a white palm.
Oh, I was scared.
I know. I gave it a fist. Why'd you give it a palm, Bray?
Why did I? No, you go first. You gave it a fist. You've been crapping on this movie the entire episode.
What is my thing about the movie? And yes, everyone knows I don't like the movie, but the whole point of the cause is not whether you like the movie or not, whether it helps get more leading people of color in a film.
Mm-hmm.
The tricky part is that I don't think Lupita has led a movie like since, and I don't think
she's only been in Star Wars.
Yeah, and I don't think
she's leading on Broadway though.
Yeah, but has
Eclipse
Ejiofor Ejiofor hasn't he hasn't
It
led
depends
one.
if you consider he's in a movie. It's like
Zachariah?
a post-apocalyptic movie.
Z for Zachariah?
Z for Zachariah.
But he's not the lead.
I mean, it's
What's
arguable.
my thing? I know that they didn't like lead the movies per se, but I think the fact that like Lupita brought like attention to dark-skinned black women, she won an Oscar. It was like a great thing, right? Hopefully Hollywood catches up, and like I know she's buying her own scripts to put herself in movies, but that was a good thing. Steve McQueen, this movie won Best Picture, was directed by a black person, written by a black man. Technically, it was adapted by a black man, written by a black man who was a slave at the time. I think, yeah, and honestly, your answer is what said it. When you said that it wasn't like, oh, I'm happy I'm not them, it was like almost like embarrassment, almost like, to me, like, okay, then it did do something, right? Whether like I felt happy while watching it, at least it did something, you know. And for a white man to say I want to do better, I can't. That movie won. Like the movie's like, yes, that's what we need right there. You know what I'm saying? You need people to say I want to do better. I want people to be like, I don't know. It won. I don't know how to explain it, but it won.
I hear you saying.
Yeah, I struggled with what I was going to give it. I didn't know. And it had a lot to do with everyone's comments. Like everyone's comments was like, you know, some people were for it, some people weren't. But I think I'm definitely leaning on what my man here said and what CJ was saying. Just because like all of the heat that was behind Chiwetel and Lupita after this, you know, and this being Lupita's first on screen, right? And then also just the number of black people in this movie that get, you know, that just get moments and get time. I'm a big fan of Chris Chalk, and like he's in it for, you know, he plays Clemens in the beginning of it, and just like that, I think that's great. And also thinking about, you know, what Steven was saying about how like maybe I can't name other black slave movies, you know, so like, and just how I felt how conflicted I felt watching this movie, and the way that this movie made me think. I think it deserves a fist for that.
Cool. Why did I end? I shouldn't end.
Why you ended it with a palm?
But so this is the reason I gave it a palm, and I mean, some of the people here had kind of expressed the reason that we did throughout the podcast. But there's a couple things. One, you're right. We haven't seen. There aren't that many slave movies. I brought that point up myself, and that being said, I think we had somebody say as well. The reason that we haven't seen a lot of slave movies, but slavery has been taught. We have specials about it. We have TV movies about it. It's constantly in our mind, and
we got two TV shows.
We are reminded constantly of like black people used to be slaves, right? And there is a point where it's like, you know what? Like white people used to be slaves. Like white people, there are slaves still today. You know what I mean? There are slaves in the world right now. Like slavery is a human problem. There is a time in our country where slavery was directed exactly towards black people and set up in this way. There are all these laws set up so that if you had one drop of black blood in you, you were considered black, and therefore you had to be segregated and all this stuff, right? That being said, it's like we're moving away from that, and I don't want it to be like the only time we get to see a black story is about the struggle of coming out of slavery. You know what I mean? Like, and so, yes, Chiwetel Ejiofor maybe got some heat, but you know who or Lupita's going to get heat? Yeah, but you know who got heat from Amistad? Gigi Mahansu? Is he the lead in movies? No, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yes, heat comes, but then it starts to go away. And, like, the next time he got another supporting actor role was for Blood Diamond, He didn't win that. But, like, it was still a supporting role where Leah was the lead. And I don't know how much these films really help out the careers of the actor. It definitely helps them out, obviously. You can't say it doesn't. But I don't know how far it gets them because I think the industry as a whole still is like, look, if you want to do a movie with the black lead, like, it's probably going to do better if it's about the struggle in some way. You know what I mean? And like we were saying in the beginning, we want to move past that. That's kind of one of the things that we started this podcast with. And also, I love that there are people who watch, and of course, there are probably many, many, many people. The fact that it did well internationally is so great. That's why I'm not giving it nothing. You know what I mean? Like, there are things that this movie did that were great. But I do think one of the main problems that the woman down front said is that we have people who are still don't realize the racism. You know what I mean? They don't realize it's subconscious, it's unbiased. They don't understand that. And I really do think that people watch this movie. I don't think it's the intent of Steve McQueen, but I think people watch this movie and they go, yes, it was that bad, and it no longer is like that. Because I read Facebook comments every day that is like this. When a hashtag Black Lives Matter comes out and people say all lives matter. All lives matter. Why? It's like, why are you saying Black Lives Matter? All lives matter. You don't get it. You know what I mean? They think racism is over because slavery is over. There's no segregation. Civil rights happen. Obama's president. Boom, boom. It's over. You know what I mean? Like, people legitimately think this way. And it's like, yes, do we need reminders of slavery? Maybe. But we also need reminders of today of like there is stuff that happens that's so systematic. You know what I mean? Like, you can be racist without thinking in your mind black people should be slaves. So that's why I gave it a white palm. All right? Is that okay with you?
You said a lot. I'm catching up. Yeah. give me a second.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean,
no, yeah,
all right, yeah, it's cool. I'm not going to argue your.
All right, it's okay.
All right, man.
No, we're not going to argue your call. That's your answer for the cause.
Yeah, man, that makes sense. I'm just tired. Can we just next time we have a live show, can we come back to NYU and do a movie where like there's a black female lead and she's like a president or something? I'm just tired of seeing like.
Does that movie? Like, does that movie exist?
Fuck some. What's NYU? Right? Somebody write it real quick. Like,
that's
come
true,
on, man.
That's true.
I'm just tired.
Concussion is yep.
Wait, let's not talk about concussion though, real quick. Let's not talk about
concussion.
No, but but the thing about concussion too.
It got
Will Smith.
Is Concussion a good movie?
Shut up.
Is that the next one?
It's a questionable one. But the thing is, Will Smith didn't get a nomination, and he plays a brilliant doctor.
The movie
did
nothing got
out.
nomination from Concussion.
He tried to help out. I'm not saying he was great in it, but
I mean, I don't know if it deserved it, but nothing got nomination for Concussion. So No, he didn't get nominated. That's what I'm saying. He didn't get a SAG nomination.
He wasn't
either.
a drug
It wasn't
dealer
celebrated.
dude trying to save. That's what
we're talking about. So, all right. I think we shouldn't do a slave movie for another 3 years, 12 years maybe.
I see what you did there, and I hate it. I literally hate it.
But
thank y'all for coming out.
Thank you guys for coming out.
Thank you for hanging out.
We appreciate it.
Woo!
Is there anything we want to plug? There's a sketch show that all three of us are in. What is it? February
11th.
February
so this
11th.
Thursday.
This Thursday for those of you here in this audience. This Thursday at 8
p.m.
at UCB Theater, Chelsea.
And Friday the 26th at 7:30.
Friday the 26th. It's called Astronomy Club: A Journey Through Black History. It's a fun sketch show. Come check it out if you want. Otherwise,
guess what it's about?
It's about Black history. Hey, now you're realizing that titles mean the thing that's in.
Yeah, I mean, okay, whatever, man.
All right, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, it's time for some plugs. Thank you for listening to that 12 years.
Yeah, that wonderful.
Woo! Okay.
Yeah, James cursed at me, y'all.
I did, and let me just say this. Can I say this? Jerah, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
no, really.
I loved it.
I was so mad.
You were so mad. I was so
but
great.
It was like, it was too much. It was too much.
Follow us at Black Men Podcast on Twitter and Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Black Men Can't Jump. Black Man Podcast or whatever on Facebook.
It's Black Man Podcast. Black Man Podcast on Facebook.
On Facebook too?
On Facebook,
yeah. So if you do at Black Men Podcast, you'll find our page, which is Black Men Can't
Great.
Jump.
Some shout out, man. Where we got? We got listeners from Australia.
Yeah,
we got a couple Australians.
We on every continent.
Yeah,
Australia.
Every continent.
Bop,
and then
bop, bop.
was it who is from? Because somebody from Korea, and then but somebody
It was
from
two people. It was two people from Australia.
Yeah, but then there was somebody else who was also listening from Asia. I think India. I don't remember.
I don't know.
Man, we on every continent.
But we on every continent.
Y'all, if you live somewhere. No, honestly, just tweet us where you live.
Just tell us where you live.
Just tell us where you live.
Just tell us your home address.
Tell us your home address.
Your home address.
Tell us we have a couch that we can stay on if we ever come to your town.
Exactly.
Actually, please tell us that.
Yo, if you live in Austin, Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We are coming to South by Southwest.
Part of that headgum.
I think we plugged this already, but I'm plugging it again.
Plug it every time till we
South
get it.
by Southwest, March 11th at the North Door venue, 3 p.m.
Is it 3:30 or 3 p.m.? 3 p.m.
3 p.m.
Let's say 3 p.m.
Tickets are $20. You can go to blackmen.podcast. blackmenpodcast.squarespace.com or my website, johnbraylock.com.
Yeah, or you can check out headgum.com. They got all that stuff up there too, because it's going to be us, two other wonderful podcasts doing wonderful, funny things.
Yeah.
She didn't text back. We said last time it was...
what did we call it?
I don't know. It's the podcast is called She Didn't Text Back. And John Gaber says High and Mighty. Also, follow me on Twitter at John Braylock, JONBRAYLOCK, and Instagram. And I already plugged my website. And go watch How to Be Single.
Oh, yeah. Hey, John is in that movie, and he gets one of the biggest laugh lines.
Somebody tweeted at me, and they were like, they just quoted my line, and I was like, thank you.
Yeah, bro. I mean, that laugh line killed.
Yes.
Braylock killed, y'all.
Thank you. What you got to plug?
You going after that?
Follow me. Yeah, well, I got to.
Oh, okay.
I don't have a movie.
I would have just waited a minute or two.
Just wait a full minute of silence after he plugs his movie.
I would have waited that.
No, that's fine. James Third Comedy on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, jamesthirdcomedy.com. Also, we are doing a show at UCB East on Saturday. At what time is it?
Saturday, February 20th at 7 p.m.
Saturday, February 20th at 7 p.m. So if you're listening to this on Friday, if you're listening to this on Saturday, please come out to the show. It's at UCB East. We're doing some improv.
Doing solid improv, y'all.
Yes.
Jerah, what you get?
I ain't plugging nothing.
All right, well, then I'll plug, I guess. Astronomy Clubs presents A Journey Through Black History. You want to plug it?
I forgot when
it's Friday.
Oh, God.
It's Friday, February 26th
Friday,
at 7:30 p.m. UCB Chelsea.
Hey, man, y'all
and then we got 2 dates in March, right?
Yes, 2 dates in March.
What are those dates?
Those dates are...
I know y'all can't leave me to do important dates and stuff. I always forget. Gracious. I'm sorry.
Those dates are March 14th at 8 p.m. And I don't have the second date.
When is your birthday, James?
My birthday is March 2nd.
And then here's the announcement too.
These plugs are so weird.
I know. This is a lot. If people get through all this, I congratulate you. Well, here's the thing. If you're on Snapchat, this week or next week, we got coming out a couple of videos, a series. Thank You Black People.
Yep.
On Comedy Central's Snapchat channel.
Yes, baby.
That's right. Comedy Central's Snapchat channel. If you don't have Snapchat, go download it and then figure out how to use it. It'll take you a long time if you are like me.
I still don't know.
If you're a younger listener, you're like, you guys are mad old. What you talking about is so easy.
And I'm just going to go ahead and say it's mad easy. I'm on Snapchat right now and I'm amazing at it.
So it only exists for like 24 hours, the videos.
Yeah.
So we don't know exactly what days are coming out, but that means you have to listen. You have to watch.
Yeah,
we'll be tweeting. Like, once we know, we'll let you know. But yeah, it'll be great. Watch it. Let us know how awesome it is. Tweet at Comedy Central so they know how awesome it is.
Yes, tweet at Comedy Central.
Tweet at Comedy Central. Let them know how awesome it is.
Say, we want more of this.
Yeah.
Definitely do that.
I'm dead serious. Tweet at them and be like, hey, if you don't make more of these, we gonna stop.
All right. And next week, we are reviewing we're not reviewing a film. Next week is the Oscars, y'all. We're going to do a special Oscar episode, and we got a special guest.
We can't tell you who it is, though.
Oh, we can't tell you?
Yeah, we can't tell you who it is.
We can't tell you who it is.
Oh, it's a secret? Okay.
It's a secret.
It's a returning guest.
It's a returning guest.
We can tell you that.
And it's a lady, too.
And it's a lady.
Ooh, yeah.
So that narrows it down to two people.
One of
Yo, by the way,
guests.
we trying to get ladies. It's hard.
You know why?
So hard.
We have asked so many ladies, and they all say yes, but the schedules aren't working out
because, they doing their thing.
They're balling.
They doing
ladies are tearing it up, running the world.
Oh, yeah, we got to give a shout out to our past guest, Natasha Rothwell, who has a Netflix show coming out soon.
Yeah, characters.
This is the longest plugs of all time.
Yeah, it really is.
Next week, we're doing a special Oscars episode. We are going to break down Oscars So White. It is going to be legit. I'm so excited for it.
It's going to be too legit.
I'm nervous.
I'm so excited for it.
I can't wait.
Okay, cool. We'll see you next week. Peace.
That was a HeadGum podcast.